So you beautiful people, loads of you guys have requested that I do best class setups. In fact, I done a vote on the channel on the community the other day and these were the results, so I'm obliged to do what I have to do for you guys and do these best class setups. So we're going to start with my favorite gun, and this is why it's in gold, because it's clearly my favorite gun. It's the first gun I've ever got gold. This is the Union Black version, as you can see with the Union Jack on the side, and me being a Britishman, it's only natural that I have this on the side. However, you can create what I'm going to create from the standard Kilo 141, which is actually the HNK 433 in real life. Now, I'm not quite sure why they haven't got that name in the game. Maybe it's down to licensing or something, but I have no idea. Now, the class we're going to go for here is what I would call a CQC, a close quarters combat weapon. It's going to give you almost a hybridization of this weapon, so it's more like a SMG / assault rifle. So it's going to be the gun that you can utilize for every single thing in the game, and it's going to have a suppressor on for more stealthily gameplay and keeping you off the map. I know that's really hard in this game with the footsteps and all, but your weapon, at least you'll be well set. So we're going to start off with the barrel, and you're going to put the Singard Arms Whisper on. Now, this would give you sound suppression, extra bullet velocity, but there is a slight penalization in terms of aim down sight speed. However, all the other attachments we're going to put on are going to negate some of those stuff anyway. So this is going to be a weapon, I know I use this term loosely, if you rush or you try to rush in this game, basically if you're moving around and you come across an enemy, you will be able to get down your sights a lot quicker with the build that we're going for. So next up, we're not going to put optic on, because the iron sights on this weapon, which I will show later on in the video, are beautiful, very clear in terms of acquiring your opposition. And we're not going to put laser on, because even though it does offer aim down sight speed, it will give your position away in terms of the laser protruding in front of you. So stock, we're actually not going to use none of these. We're going to remove the stock altogether, which gives you enhanced movement speed and the ADS speed, sight speed as well. The cons are going to be aim instability and recoil control, but believe me, there isn't that much recoil on this weapon, but we will negate that later on with another attachment, so we'll pop on that. In terms of perks, I like to use sleight of hand, because we are going to stay with the standard 30 round mag on this particular weapon, as we don't want to impede our mobility any further with any other attachments in terms of ammunition. For the rear grip, we're going to put stipple grip. Now, this will give you faster aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed as well, so we're really starting to come out of that AR territory and move very close to the SMG territory. And again, the con for this will be aim stability, but it's really not going to be that noticeable at all. And then finally, you're going to want to put on the Merc foregrip. Now, you can flip out whatever you like. This is just a suggestion for you guys, but I put this on because it gives you better recoil control, but also gives you hip fire accuracy as well. So you'll be able to really utilize this weapon at close quarters as if it was an SMG, but still take people out at AR ranges. So it's just my favorite weapon for this particular reason, as there's just so many things that you can do with it. So that is the actual build for the actual weapon, but we're going to do the actual class setup as well. So that's what it's going to look like. Nice and short looking rifle. I think is awesome. The Kilo's really nice, and it's nice to have that integrated suppressor, but also it gives you extended range, which isn't what usually traditionally happens in Call of Duty. The next thing you're going to see is a shotgun. This is all about aggression and just being absolutely brutal and relentless with people. And if you aren't rocking a shotgun, you're going to be at a massive disadvantage anyway. But we're not going to be doing the 725. I believe this is the best shotgun in the game, the model 680. So you're going to obviously need to put overkill on this so you can rock the two primary weapons. And let's get into the attachment. So we've got the monolithic suppressor on. This gives you sound suppression, but also gives you extended damage range. The cons are aim down sight speed and aim walking steadiness. Now, to be honest with you, most of the time that I use this weapon, I fire off the hip anyway. There are occasions where I do like to aim down sight. So To negate that, what we've just popped on, we put on the Merc foregrip, which gives you recoil control, but also gives you aim down sight speed. So we've just negated that con that we've just had in the other one, but you get a slight penalty in movement speed. For my barrel, I like to use the 18-inch XRK Liberator, which gives you damage range, tighter pellet spread, but a slight con in aim down sight speed. But again, we don't always aim down sight with this particular weapon. No stock at all. Movement speed is increased, aim down sight is increased. So as you can see here, this is all about negating most of the stuff that is being a con in this weapon, for a slight loss of aim stability and recoil control. And then finally we put on as our perk the frangible rounds for wounding. So basically, if you hit someone with your first shot, they're really going to be struggling here unless they've got a stim shot, because these bullets will literally stop people from healing for a brief while. So if you're chasing somebody, I tend to hit them with this, swap back to my AR or continue with this, and you'll basically finish them off quite easily with no struggling, because of the fact that they can't heal, and they won't even realize they can't heal unless they've got a stim shot. So perks wise, obviously overkill, so you can carry the two primary weapons. Now I like to use hardline just because I'm trying to be very aggressive with this. You tend to find that you will get in ruckuses where you manage to come out with quite a few enemies dead, especially switching from the two weapons, and you'll get you'll be able to obtain your streaks very, very quickly with this. But feel free to rock out any of these and change them to other things. Kill chain is quite interesting if you're somebody that reliably gets your streaks. Then you can get your streaks to get your streaks for you. I'm not a fan of Ghost. Obviously, it's why this game's playing so slow, so that's why I haven't really been using it at all. I've tried to wean myself off, so that's why hardline is my go-to. And then finally, we're going to use amped for faster weapon swaps. And what you'll find, which I'll show in footage in a moment, is that you can change from your shotgun back to your AR and vice versa really, really quickly. So you can literally know what you're about to do. You're about to enter a room, confined space, you switch out to your AR if you're not quite comfortable with the Kilo. But believe me, the Kilo will be able to hold its own in close quarters combat. But unfortunately, a shotgun is a shotgun in this game, and they are very dominant when they're out. So that's why we've conformed and joined the meta. In terms of lethal, you can put whatever you like. I like to put a Semtex, so when I am going into a room and I open a door, I lob this in, see if I get a hit marker on someone. Or the other thing that you might want to add to this class is to change this to the snapshot grenade if you really want to find out what's going on. But I like to use this for stuns, because we haven't got EOD on. Throw in a stun and then you will disable that claymore, and then you'll be able to run in the room and do what you have to do to your unsuspecting enemies. With this class, the kill streaks I always rock are going to be the cruise missile, the VTOL warship, and then the payload. Basically, this is my go-to setup for this particular class. I play very aggressively where I can, and I managed to obtain them in most games, so for me, I quite love that. And then for my field upgrade, this is what I utilize to start rushing. Every time this is active, I will start rushing. Now you can, if you want to, put tuned up on, so you get your upgrade 33% more often. Once you are killing people whilst dead silence is active, it will top itself up anyway. So if you strategically play the way you're supposed to with it, then you'll find that when you're rushing around and you do get the drop on people with the CQC Kilo setup that I've given you, you will extend that timer constantly anyway, and you'll probably end up with your streaks before long and before you're dead. So that is why I'm suggesting dead silence. So the first thing you'll notice with this particular setup is the Kilo's not got much recoil at all, especially with what I've suggested as attachments. Now it does veer to the left ever so slightly, just a little bit upwards as well, but nothing like other guns in this game. If you was to use an AK in comparison to this weapon, you'll really notice the difference. It's almost like the ACR from previous Call of Duties. Now most guns in terms of recoil tend to go to the right, and believe me, from my Gunsmith guides, I've tested a lot of weapons in this game. this is one of the few weapons I've used where it goes to the left. And as you can see, when I suggest to you about utilizing the shotgun in certain situations, those are the situations I'm talking about. But look how quickly we are able to switch weapons with this class. It's just absolutely beautiful. So you've got mid, long range, close range, covered with all weapons. You can use either the CQC Kilo, as I like to call it, or you can switch to your Model 680 and give it the full beans. You can take on people at long range quite easily, but you do need to pay attention to how many shots you're getting on these people and whether it's actually worth finishing off that gunfight. The Kilo does, in terms of long range, let itself down by how many shots have to be landed on your targets. About 5 to 6 shots, but if you're accurate and you tap fire, you'll have no problem killing them, especially if you obtain that headshot. It's a very fast firing weapon, about 700 RPM, so it will kill enemies very quickly, and I think that's why they've gone for the higher hits in terms of your targets. But for me, it's just my favorite weapon. It's easy to utilize. It's very reminiscent of the ACR. That's always been my favorite weapon. I like those, you know, low recoil kind of weapons. So it's a very user-friendly weapon, but I've given you a class setup that's going to make it a much faster weapon to use and utilize, especially when you're coming up against teams that are utilizing stuff like MP5s, MP7s, but you will beat them in terms of range. So guys, that is my best class setup for the Kilo, a very brutal and aggressive Kilo and shotgun combination for you guys, and we've refrained from using the 725. Guys, let me know down in the comment section, is there any changes that you would make to this particular class setup? Is the Kilo your favorite weapon like it is mine, or if it's not, what is your favorite weapon? Guys, there are many buttons you could hit, but a like and subscribe button, I hope they tickle your fancy, and as always guys, don't forget to stay on the right track. Peace.